Paradox Diaries 6.2. I'm going to go ahead and start shaking. So let's go through the very basics. Just shake, it works. It works for me, it'll almost certainly work for you. And I'm going to talk about why, but really, I'm going to give you 3 things that if you start doing, you can do them just about anywhere, anytime. It's better to do them longer, but even a minute here and there can make a big difference if you do it every so often. 3 things. Thing 1, what I'm doing here, shaking. If you can get to 10 minutes, again, I'm going to tell you why, but it's really good for you. And also, I've told you a million times in other videos, so I'm not like holding off. I'm just, so shake, breathe. I know you think it's stupid. I get it. I did too for 15, 20 years. When I did yoga, it was an athletic exercise. If you work on a difficult pose, or if you do something with some kind of discomfort, and then you also consciously control your breath, you are training your vagus nerve. It is the best thing you can do for yourself. Really, it really, really is. Now, in general, that's not true. It's really, there's the middle way. But if you look at modern life is so stressful that we tend to have all sympathetic work more than parasympathetic. And that's what this is. This is balancing, but it's going to tend to be parasympathetic. The third thing is these 2 things together. So if you can actually, for example, take an inhale and then exhale. Now, you don't have to do that at all. And in fact, I do the breathing pretty much all day long. I consciously go back to 5 breaths a minute when I'm not actually doing it. So I do it on a regular basis. And by doing that, I'm keeping myself balanced as opposed to sympathetic dominant. So that actually lowers your body's ATP, which actually throughout the day will reduce your exhaustion. So yeah, it really does. I mean, this is anatomy. This is how your body works. All right. Think about this. When you're nervous, what do? You breathe fast, right? Why? That gives you a certain kind of energy. It also is a signal to the body's time to release cortisol and other adrenaline and all that kind of stuff. So if you want to jack yourself up, holotropic breathing, Wim Hof breathing, fine. Guess what? You're already jacked up, all right? You're drinking coffee. We're all jacked up all the time. So you don't need to work on that. You need to work on the other, the opposite, right? So you need to think about the opposite. And the opposite is, believe it or not, this is opposite. In fact, this is both positive and negative. It's actually noise. And it's stochastic noise, it's random. And so it's really just the general noise. Now let's get into why this is so powerful. All right, sure, it increases blood flow. All right, forget all the stuff I've said before. I've learned some new stuff. And it is called Thixotropic Grooming. All right, it's a fancy term. So when you do something throughout the day, you either are, well, you're growing collagen all day long and throughout your life. But also, when you sit or you stay in a position, your collagen at first warms up and forms into a gel, and then it somewhat hardens. And what that does is, it at a micro level, reduces the amount of effort for your body to maintain that form. So if you sit all day, you form your collagen. You go to bed, and it generally returns, but not all. And so slowly over time, nothing plus nothing plus nothing equals body change. Well, guess what? This right here basically restores the collagen. It warms it up, liquefies it, and then realigns it. And by the way, when I say realigns it, collagen is a dielectric. I think it's electric. It carries current. And so this actually helps realign the collagen, and it literally, again, makes you more energy efficient. So this process I'm doing right now is just defragging my body. It's just shaking all the noise. It's getting stuff back to a baseline, and then I go to bed, and guess what? My body's already, what's this like? This is like, okay, this is like you're cleaning your house before the maids come. You do the bulk work because you're embarrassed. And I haven't had maids for years, and maybe I should, but anyway, I don't. But when I did, I used to clean the house so they would do just all the detail work. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. This is the bulk work, and then you add something on later on. So this is wonderful. But also, I've had 2 good days of borderline extreme stretches. And when I say borderline extreme, neurologically, my numbers were, I was in an extreme place. Like my alpha 1 hit 2.12, which apparently is off the charts. But I was also not moving. I was controlling my breathing, and I was hyper fixating on about 3 inches in my hip. I was so focused on that one part of my body because I wanted to make sure that it was discomfort and not noise and not pain and not damage. Because at some point, something's going to tear. Could be a muscle. And on the left side, I was working on the muscle, but I got really deep. On the right side, I stopped early because I hit the socket. Now, I didn't do any damage at all because I stayed calm. I just released, waited. There was no reaction, and then I came out. And then afterwards, I did a little shaking just to make sure that if there was any kind of traumatic response from the body, it was generally cleared. So in fact, I did the same thing with the cat bite. And so this is a general, all systems clear. Let's go ahead and shut down for the evening. This is the night cleaning that I do. And it has an amazing collection of neurological and physiological benefits. So just frickin' shake. If you do nothing else, shake. And then when you're not shaking, breathe. And if you can do shaking and breathing, that's all you need. You can ignore everything else I talk about. Because if you already have something you're doing, this is just going to magnify it. This could be enough. I don't think it is. Tell you what, I think that this is going to keep you where you're at. It might even move you forward a little bit, but it'll keep you where you're at. So that's actually pretty good. And if you add a little bit of additional other things, then you'll be making progress. And here's the good news. If you can get yourself doing this, if I don't want to stretch in a night, if I do this, I stretch. So all I have to do is get myself to start bouncing. And then that just, whatever's going through my head that's like, I don't want to do something, gone. Because what happens is I'm literally forcing my body to put its current reserves of ATP to handling the noise. It turns up everything just a little bit. So right now I'm deliberately keeping my nervous system at a certain alerted state. I would also be breathing with control, but I'm talking. However, I've done this enough that this is a familiar state with my body. And I can breathe and talk at the same time because I'm an extrovert. I'm not sure how I do it. I think it's like a caterpillar. If I were to stop to think how I'm doing it, I would either choke or stop talking. But, and there I stopped talking. In any case, this is a really good basic practice, and I've been going at it for 7 minutes and 39 seconds. So I'm gonna keep going for 10 minutes is a good number for me, but really it's not about the time. It's about the feels, right? The feels. Now what I mean by the feels is, so I'm gonna stop for a second. Okay, I've got tingling on my shins. My forearms are still a little tight. So, I mean, they're loosening up, but when I can feel my muscle fibers sort of just shake all the way up and down my arms, then I know I'm probably in pretty good shape overall. So I'm gonna go back to that. And in fact, what I'm gonna do is I'm just let my arms sort of hang for a while rather than holding them in place. Because if I do this, I can sort of get like right there, I'm getting my hips more. And depending on how I shape my body, I can sort of move the destination of a lot of the shaking to a different part of the body. So just mess around. The thing is, your body's going to shake differently from my body. But shaking is a biological imperative. It's just something the body does, right? It's a natural response. And basically what you're doing is you're reverse engineering the body's own mechanisms and then using them to give the body signals. So if I do a really deep, intense pose, or if I'm jogging, which I don't do, but if I jog, I force myself to breathe 5 breaths a minute. So that's it. And so if I lose that, then I don't jog. And that's a little trick. And you can do it. And if you are able to do that, you're training your vagus nerve to be stronger in a noisy system. And by training your vagus nerve, it has stronger signals, stronger wiring, et cetera. And contrary to typical belief, it's actually not that difficult to have your sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems simultaneously engaged. I mean, I do it often. And it's a combination of deep, intense discomfort, hyper proprioceptive focus, a lot of preparatory work in terms of mental distraction and shaking, and then sitting in discomfort, hyper-focusing on the edge of discomfort. And in that moment, that tends to put your system just on the edge of a gasp. And then when you come out, and this is key, come out slowly, the rebound is amazing. When you come out quickly, what happens, okay, so here's what happens. your body is expecting this huge surge because of the discomfort. So the vagus nerve is preparing. Now, what you would normally expect you to do is just to knee-jerk react. And so that what happens is it goes boom, and it puts a lot of capacity into the vagus system. I'm just making this up as a story, but this is basically what's happening. And so what happens when you release, but then you don't? You just sort of like, instead of releasing, you just sort of pull back enough to get you take it from 100% to 98%, and then you wait. Then what happens is your vagus nerve, it's not used to that. It just goes, and so I've had my heart rate go from, what was it? Well, I've had it go from 20 to 80, 20 to 100. Was it 15 seconds? 45 seconds? It was under a minute. And apparently that's impressive. But no, what it is, think about this. You build up pressure, you build up pressure, you build up pressure. Your body is used to just full out releasing that pressure because traditionally it's a step function. When you're in discomfort, you create a step function and you come out of that discomfort, and then the body just rushes to the aid. So I'm tricking my system. I'm PNFing my nervous system. And remember, it's hold and release. But the trick here is it's a slow release because I don't want to go deeper. I want the deeper to go into me, if that makes sense, right? I want all that vagal capacity to just sit there and just relax the hell out of the system that I just put under discomfort. And so that's what I'm really doing by doing that. So you build up, and then come out slowly, empty. And what's the third word? I forget what the third word is. Deliberately. So I've talked about empty movement. I'm going to stop for a second and demonstrate empty stepping in Tai Chi, just because this is where I got the idea. So in Tai Chi, when we move our feet, so right here, I'm going to move my foot. I move my right foot. So every movement starts with, if I'm going to move my foot, I push with one foot, the right foot, into the left foot. My weight's now over here. And then I can rotate, empty, no pressure, set down, still empty, shift weight over to the other foot, weight's over here. I'm going to step with this foot, empty step, still empty, and then shift weight. I do the same thing when I'm moving. If I'm on the floor and I'm in a deep pose and I've got one hand down, I'll bring in the other hand, lock it, shift, move. Now, you have a lot of leeway there. What you're trying to do is, if you have your body in stress, you don't want to move quickly, because the response to that would then to be stress and tightening up. By moving slowly, you're using a physical cue to your body, sort of like your breath. Your breath is a calming cue to your body, right? So the breath is a way for you and your body to directly communicate. It can try to speed it up or slow it down, and you can consciously speed it up or slow it down. Movement is the exact same thing. I can do PNF and let go fast if I'm going for one kind of effect, or I can do PNF and then just barely let go, wait, and then slowly come out. And they have different effects, and it's just about knowing the biomechanics and the plumbing of your body, and then just working with it. Your body works in predictable ways. But you know what? You don't need to do any of that. What you just need to do is shake and then breathe. Just those two things. If you do that, it's going to open up space. Now let's talk about that for a second, because I'm going to shake for a little bit longer. I'm actually sort of considering not stretching, because I want to give my body a couple days for the collagen that I probably shouldn't be stretching as much as I did, but no damage. But don't follow my lead on that one. But I need to give it a couple days for it to reform. And also what I'm doing here is, again, I'm realigning the collagen so that as it reforms, it's going to be better aligned. It's going to be smoother. It's going to move more quickly. So my body's going to actually require less ATP to stay still, and also less ATP to move. So I'm paying an amortization tax, or I'm washing my body daily. Honestly, I would say this is more important than showers. Do shower, but I'm just saying, if I had to pick one, this is going to be my thing until I stink. So I'm going to talk about a few more things. I'm going to bring up just some stuff. This is my preload for tonight. So 3x3x3 matrix. There's going to be, I'm going to be sort of talking about a larger system of practice, or just sort of thought about your practice and your structure. Because the basic idea is you don't have to do anything. But if you want to become sort of the writer of your own story, you know what I mean, or if you want to actually figure out how to be a mechanic for your body, or if you want to architect your life, if you want to have some mental clarity, if you want to sleep better, then shake. And if you do that 10 minutes a day for 3 weeks, 5 days a week, and you don't have if you don't notice a huge difference, then it's not your thing. But I'll tell you what, I've known about shaking for years, over a decade. And it was only with the cat bite where I started doing it for a different reason. And then the sleep got better. I felt better. It's just, and I keep doing more research. And this is another thing I've learned. So if you happen to do something that's good for you, that's wonderful. So shaking is good for me. But the more I learn about shaking, the more I'm aware of its capabilities. What I'm doing is, and this is about preloading, I'm letting my brain know that I'm aware of the things that it does. And in doing that, I'm making stronger associations. And over time, that actually helps with your brain, your neuroplasticity. So you're learning about something, and as you learn it, it gets rewritten. And as it gets rewritten more efficiently. As you improve the efficiency of your memory, you improve the efficiency of your shaking, which turns down your body noise, which makes you actually re-record the memories even better, because as you re-practice it, you reinforce it, and also it gets re-recorded at different levels of noise. So it has many projections of association, much like you are all versions of your past and your future, the potential for your future. So we're doing some thoracic, Thixotropic grooming. Talked about preloading already enough. Talked about slow and empty and deliberate. Actually, this is something I experienced earlier tonight. If you sort of get lost in your thoughts and you sort of get into a recursive thought, it's almost like you get away from you go deeper into your brain. Oh, that's another memory actually. Yeah, that's a good one. You go deeper into your brain, and it's almost like your brain is kind of like in basically infinitely recursive layers. It's actually interdirected, but you sort of get away from the surface, if you will, where your neurofiring is stronger, I think. And so as a result, you're almost literally further away, right? So that's something that can happen. And something that I found interesting, I was doing some thinking about a particular problem, and an image came to mind, and it's a very specific image. Actually, if I think about it, it's probably from a dream, but the location is specific. It's on the farm in Iowa, near the clothes hanging rack. We used to have, we actually had manual washer, and then eventually we had a washer dryer, but we used to hang clothes outside. If you can do it, it smells great. But the image was of me taking and flipping a towel, and that's what we're doing here. I'm whipping a towel. I'm warming everything up, and then I'm getting it realigned. That's what we're doing. We're just whipping a towel with our body. Now, really, the thing is move. Step one, move. And shaking is the generic move. It's all moves. But mix it up, right? And monitor for pain, for dizziness. If you get dizzy, sit down. If you get a headache, stop doing it. If something is stabby, if you can point at it, just be careful. And notice I'm not doing much. I sometimes do some aggressive stuff, but not really, honestly. But it doesn't take much, because you cannot yourself bounce fast enough to get the neurological benefit. Here's the real benefit, all right? Your muscles are hanging on the fascial tissue. The fascial tissue have all the proprioceptive stuff, or actually it's like 5 or 6 to 1 to the muscles. And the muscles are pulling on the fascia. And so you're stimulating your fascia and you're just exhausting it. And it's not really exhausting, but you're basically just saying, align, 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 align. Just clear yourself up. And you're saying to the collagen, pack, 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 loosen, loosen, warm, warm. So over and over again, but the body's internal viscerals are bouncing around and doing the actual work. But notice, my intentional practice, bouncing, shaking, is causing the internal body to get the message. Oh, okay, it's safe. We can clear. Let's go ahead and clear. We're going to, oh, actually, it's not really a choice. It's kind of an override, right? So this right here is a cheat code. This is a Konami cheat code to your body. Now, the one other thing I want to talk about is, first of all, I am absolutely not suggesting you stop doing whatever it is you like doing, because if you like doing something, that's the most important thing to do that. What I'm saying, though, is this practice is probably going to magnify that. But I want you to think about a donut, right? You've got an outer radius and an inner radius. Metaphorically, the outside is your parasympathetic capacity. The inside is your sympathetic capacity. Notice as you get stronger and stronger in any particular characteristic, there is an upper limit, right? Human tissue has upper physical limits, right? And you're never going to reach those limits unless you're doing something like using steroids and such. I mean, it is possible to get so strong that you break bones. That happens, but also it's probably because you're weakening your bones. But the thing is, there's a limit. With parasympathetic, there is also a limit because your body has a certain cavity. But the thing is, your body has so much space in it, right? Really what we're doing is we're kind of aligning the tissues, but we're also making the space between the tissues clear. So it's going to just make crosstalk and cross movement less costly. So when you work on your parasympathetic system, you're expanding the outside. Now, really what you're probably doing is, if you think about it, if you imagine that's your lungs and it's actually filled with interstitial tissues, what you're really doing is you're causing your body to align and straighten. And so you're making it so that you basically have better efficiency across the board. And if you work on the outside, which is really the metaphorical place where the parasympathetic system is, here's maybe your edge, but you're only here. When you work on the outside, this is going up, and it's really it's a sphere. It's not a circle. So this is going up by the cube, and this is actually the amount that it grows goes down. It's asymptotically approaching a certain maxima. And so, since you're already probably doing plenty of parasympathetic stuff now, just by walking around, just by yard work, housework, stress, you probably need the parasympathetic system. And when you do that, you're going to find huge benefits pretty early on, because this will lower the next ATP day. And if you start doing it enough, you're going to start to notice add-on benefits. Now, my arms are warm here, so let's see. I mean, my torso is really warm. I've got my whole torso taken care of. So let's see. So anyway, parasympathetic dominance work takes your overall nervous system and it turns it down. So the thing about that is, if you lower the floor, the existing signals that are there get cleaner. And so you can hear the signals. So if you do this kind of work, you're making your body more efficient and cleaner, less metabolic waste, less effort to do the same amount. I mean, I swear, I know I wasn't doing it because I was clueless. Well, now I'm telling you, it works like a charm. Okay, I am going to actually stop on shaking because I'm going to get some sleep tonight. But I am letting my hips heal. I could do some upper body work, but honestly, I'm pretty good tonight. So good night for the Paradox Diaries.